All right, welcome back. So we've been talking about APR, and so now we're going to see another application of the same concept with, again, just different information they're giving you and still wanting to find that APR. So we have Brandon financed a $1,990 computer with 24 monthly payments of $91.51 each. Find A, the finance charge, and B, the APR. So, and again, it doesn't state it specifically, but to the nearest 0.5%. So we still want to use that table. So now, if we're trying to find that APR, remember, we need that finance charge. So that's part of that formula that we need to use the table. So they have that separated out for a reason. So how can we find that finance charge? Based off of that given information, what are we going to need to do? Now remember what we said, finance charge is the same as interest. So how can we find the interest? We know how much the computer initially cost, and we know how much he's paying to pay off that loan, but how much is he paying altogether? Well, we can figure that out. We know that if he's paying this, how much is that going to equal? Well, let's find out. So we got $91.50 times 24. So $2,196. If we multiply those together, that's equal to that. So again, here's what he borrowed, but here's what he's paying back. So what was the relationship between those? The way to think of it, if you want to use your variables, this, remember, is A. That's the future value. That's how much he borrowed plus the interest. So if we want to find I, remember that other formula, A minus P. So all we need to do is subtract. And that will give us the interest. So if we said 2196 minus 1990, we get 206. So that is our finance charge. So finance charge. All right, so that is the answer to part A. So for part B now, we need to find the APR. So let's go to the table. Once we know what to go to the table with, that is. So our finance charge for $100, so we know it's the 206 is on top. We know what we borrowed, the 1990. And we got to multiply that by 100. So what does that give us? So it looks like 10.35 if we round that to 2 decimal places. So that, and how many payments? 24. So let's see what the table tells us. So 24 payments and 1035. Oh, 1019, 1075. Well, I'm thinking 1019 is a little bit closer than 1075. So let's go with that. So that's going to be 9.5%. So 9.5%. So you can see these APR problems can provide you with a different varieties of given information. So you might have to tweak it and massage it a little bit to get the values you need, but you're always going to have to plug it into this formula in order to get that APR to the nearest 0.5%. Now, obviously there are formulas to find more precise APR, but we're not doing that for this course. So don't worry about that. Just worry about how to use the table correctly. So, all right, so that wraps up that portion. Let's see what's next, which gets into unearned interest. Unearned interest. It's a weird phrase, right? But what is it? If a borrower decides to pay off an installment loan earlier than scheduled, then the lender will not earn all of the interest for the period of the loan. There are two ways we will examine to calculate this unearned interest: the actuarial method and the rule of 78. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of help for you and say we're not going to use the actuarial method. So we're only going to use the rule of 78. So as much as it's very interesting in how it works, and it is very, very doable, we're going to just cross this off. So we're not going to have to worry about that. Now, what we should look at, though, is some of the variables. Some of the variables are important. R is always going to refer to the regular monthly payment, so that is something you should know. K is equal to the remaining number of scheduled payments after the current payment. So, so let me give you an example. So let's say you had to pay the monthly payment for 36 months and you paid 24 of them. You paid 24 payments and you came into an influx of money and said, hey, I'm going to pay off the loan. No point in me keep paying for another 12 months after that. I'm going to pay it off at the end of I'll make that 24th payment and then I'm going to pay it off. So, so I don't have to pay 12 payments. So K in that case would be 12. So again, it's what you're not paying for payments. So very important. H, we said before, has to do with the APR and stuff like that. So we're not going to need to know about that. So again, very interesting formula, but we're going to skip it. Now, we are going to do payoff amounts though. So a payoff amount is exactly what it means. So again, you come into that influx of money. How much would you have to pay off that loan so you don't have to pay those 12 payments? So let's just read it. An installment loan requiring regular monthly payments can be paid off early along with the current payment. If the original loan had K additional payments scheduled after the current payment was paid and the unearned interest is U, then disregarding any possible prepayment penalties, the payoff amount is calculated as follows. So the payoff amount is equal to K plus 1 in parentheses times that R, that regular monthly payment, minus the unearned interest. So again, very easy formula, but just be careful in how you simplify this down. Very easy to make a mistake with that. So because this question here has to do with the actuarial method, we're going to skip it. So I'm going to jump to the next example, which is not this one. And we're going to go right into the unearned interest in the Rule of 78. So again, there's two methods to finding unearned interest, and we're only going to focus on the Rule of 78. So for a closed-end loan requiring monthly payments, which is paid off earlier than originally scheduled, let F equal the original finance charge, so same as before, so this is the interest. N is the number of payments originally scheduled, and K is still the same thing, the remaining payments that are not paid. So now the formula is as follows. U equals K times K plus 1 all over N times N plus 1 times F. So times that finance charge times the interest. So let's try a couple of these. So each loan was paid off early. Find the unearned interest by the actuarial method, and the rule of 78. So they're giving us the amount financed, they're giving us the regular monthly payments, the total number of payments scheduled, and the remaining payments after payoff. So again, what's not being paid? 6 payments are not being paid. So right off the bat, we should say that this is going to be my K and this is going to be my N. So the only thing left to find is what F is. So that's, again, that's our interest. So if we know how much we're financing and we know how much we're paying each month, how do we get that interest? Seems like we did a problem very similar to this already. So the first thing we need to do is find out how much we're paying back. So if we multiply those two together, that will do it for us. So 201.85 times 18 gives us $3,633.30. So there's how much we're paying back on what we're borrowing. So the interest, remember, is just going to be the difference so if we subtract those, $323.30. And again, that's our finance charge. Now we're done. Now we just have to plug it in. So we got K times K plus 1 on top. So 6 times 6 plus 1 over 18 times 18 plus 1 times our $323.30. Now again, just be very careful when you simplify this down. Now if you want to simplify the top and bottom first, you can do that. Doesn't hurt. So 6 times 7 is 42. 18 times 19 is 342. And now we can divide. So 42 divided by 342 is that times 323.3. So it looks like $39.70. So here's another way to think of it. So you have this loan, you're paying $200 and change each month, and you're supposed to pay it for 18 months. You come into some money, and after a year, you come into some money and say, I'm going to pay off my loan. How much am I saving myself? Well, you're saving yourself about 40 bucks by doing that. If you pay it off with 6 payments left, you're saving yourself about 40 bucks. Not a lot, but it's money in your pocket and not in the bank's or your lender's pocket. So that might be a good thing to do. Now the other question is how much would you have to pay on that 12th payment in order to save that 40 bucks? Well, that's where that payoff amount comes in. Now it's not part of this question, but I'm going to do it anyway. So remember, the payoff amount was equal to K plus 1 times R minus U. So K was 6. So we got 6 plus 1 times R, which was the regular monthly payment, $201.35, and then minus the U that we just found, $39.70. So again, let's just do this carefully. So if we multiply this first, well, so 7 times 201.35 equals that minus 39.70. So $1,369.75. So in order to save yourself 40 bucks, you got to pay about 1,370 bucks. you got to weigh that out. If you got money burning a hole in your pocket and you can afford to do it, I would do it. Again, you're going to save a little bit of money, so it's not a bad idea in some cases. All right, let's try one more, and that'll be it. So we have a very similar situation. We got the amount financed, we got the regular monthly payment, we got the number of payments, and how much are not being paid. So again, so here's our K, here's our N. We can multiply those together. Whoops, excuse me. Multiply not those two. Let's try multiplying these two. See how much we're actually paying. $600 a month payment. Wow. So $38,494.80. Wow. So again, you're borrowing almost $30,000, but you're paying back almost $40,000. So, ugh. So it might be beneficial to pay it off. Let's see. So we got to get our interest first. So we got to subtract those. So let's see what we get. Minus 20. Oops. Let's try that again. 38,494.8 minus 29,850. $8,644.80. So there's our finance charge. And we should be good to go, right? So K is 12. 12 times 12 plus 1. 60 times 60 plus 1 times 86, 44, 80. So 12 times 13 is 156. 60 times 61, 3660. And so let's see what that gives us. Divided by 3660 equals that times 8644.8. So $368.47. So not anything to sneeze at. That's almost half of a monthly payment. But you got to pay that loan off with 12 payments remaining. So what's your payoff amount? Might be a little high, but let's see. I'm going to abbreviate PO. So we need K plus 1. So 12 plus 1 times R. So 641.58 minus our 368.47. So we got 13 times 641.58 and then minus 368.47. $7,972.07. Well, maybe you had a little bit of an inheritance that you had burning a hole in your pocket. So you can pay off that loan and save yourself $370. Not a bad deal. So, all right, that wraps up this section. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck with all of your future endeavors in this class. So, take care.